Everybody. Hola from a very sunny Bogota. Thank you very much for joining us on this webinar, which is going to be about the Colombian and the Peruvian market for British exporters and investors. I'm thrilled to say that we have quite the lineup for you today. We're joined by the British-Peruvian Chamber of Commerce. We are joined by Control Risks, and we're also joined by a member of the DIT Latin America and Caribbean team. My name is Michael Phillips. I'm the Executive Director of BritCham Colombia, the British Chamber of Commerce here in Bogota. And I would first like to introduce the team that are joining us from the British-Peruvian Chamber of Commerce. I'm delighted to say that we're joined by Enrique Anderson, OBE. Enrique is the President of the British-Peruvian Chamber of Commerce. Enrique joined the board of the British-Peruvian Chamber in 2004 and took over as President in 2011. And since joining the board, he has worked tirelessly to help British companies trade with Peru, and he has contributed to the promotion of British English and British culture and art through his role in the Peruvian British Cultural Association. Enrique, welcome. Enrique is joined by Nancy Velarde, who is the General Manager of the British-Peruvian Chamber of Commerce. Nancy has more than 30 years' experience in the banking sector, leading the most important and strategic offices of BBVA Continental. Nancy is currently the General Manager of the Peruvian Chamber and has worked to promote trade between Peru and the UK. Nancy supports British products and services set up in the Peruvian market. And Nancy is also joined by her colleague Luis Miguel Aguirre, who is in charge of international trade at the Chamber. I'm also very pleased to say that we are joined by two experts from Control Risks here in Colombia, from their Bogota office. Firstly, Nicolás Urrutia, who is the Senior Analyst with Control Risks Global Risk Analysis team. Nicolás is an expert on Colombian politics and security and provides clients with advice and analysis on the Andean region in general. In this role, Nicolás conducts and coordinates political, social, security risk assessments, scenario planning, continuous monitoring for clients with significant interest in Colombia and Peru, and also Suriname, across all industries, including energy, construction, transportation, telecommunications, mass consumer products, among many others. I'm also pleased to say that we're joined by Raúl Gallegos, who is a director at Control Risks. Raúl is director and practice leader for Control Risk Political Risk Analysis team in the Andean region. He is a leading expert in Venezuela and provides clients with a view of economic, political and security risks and how they impact businesses in the broader Andean region and in frontier markets such as Guyana and Suriname. I'm thrilled that Control Risks have joined us for this meeting. It's worth pointing out that Control Risk has been a partner of the BritCham Colombia for quite some time, and our new president, Jaime González Moore, is also a colleague of Raúl and Nicolás at Control Risks. So we're going to hear from the team at Control Risks, then the team at BritCham in Peru. But first of all, it is my great pleasure to introduce you all to Cristina Irving. Cristina started, I think, in February 2002, correct me if I'm wrong, Cristina, as business specialist for Latin America and the Caribbean with the DIT, Department for International Trade team. And as you'll see through our presentations later in the day, we work very closely with the Department for International Trade. So it is very exciting to have Cristina join us today. And yeah, we're very excited to hear what you have to say about these two wonderful markets, Cristina. Over to you.
Thank you. Welcome and thank you everyone for joining today's webinar. I'd like to start by thanking Michael Phillips, BritCham Colombia and Nancy Velarde from the British-Peruvian Chamber of Commerce for giving me this opportunity in DIT to speak today, and of course Control Risks. And it's my pleasure to invite you to invite you and welcome you today, and also to give the opening words for today's session. So I'm very pleased to be welcoming you to introduce you to two of, in my view, Latin America's most exciting markets. I've had the pleasure and privilege to do business in both countries before joining DIT and now in DIT, as well as enjoying the beautiful and fantastic attractions that these two destinations have to offer, something that I hope we will all be able to do again very soon. In the UK, I think it's fair to say and unfortunate to say that when we think of Latin America, we automatically think of Brazil and Mexico as the main players. And we can't ignore their size and their dominance. However, it's my role as business specialist that I am constantly encouraging UK businesses to broaden their horizons in this huge and very high potential market. And in my mind, there is no doubt that Colombia is an excellent market to start and grow in Latin America, strategically placed to cover the Caribbean, South America, and Central America, previous, consistent, and stable growth, and with an excellent talent pool. And to back this up, Colombia is ranked third in Latin America in the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business. Peru is rich in natural resources and is experiencing at the moment a demography bonus, with 65% of its population aged between 16 and 64 years old. So a huge consumer and growing appetite there. And recent administrations have implemented several measures to reduce customs procedures, therefore facilitating importing. And perhaps for the UK, most importantly, it's the recently signed government-to-government agreement where the UK is a strategic partner to support infrastructure in the north of Peru. So just some of the reasons why these are two of the, for me, the most exciting markets currently in Latin America and the Caribbean. And I will leave our esteemed speakers to go into more detail about the opportunities that are available particularly for UK exporters. So just coming back to Peru and Colombia, these are diverse and growing markets. In Colombia, imports have traditionally kind of centered on refined petroleum, cars, telecommunications, broadcasting equipment, and packaged medicines, with Brazil, China, US, Mexico, and Germany big, strong players in these markets. And it's a similar story for Peru, with delivery trucks featuring as a significant import, and Chile being a major exporter there, taking advantage of their shared border. But the UK has much to offer, and we are really missing a trick here in these areas and beyond, whether that be telemedicine, food and drink, financial services, education, and our specialist expertise in the digital and engineering sectors. But do not underestimate our cultural soft power and the strong sense of quality, reliability, and prestige that our products and services resonate in these markets. Although we cannot ignore the impact of coronavirus upon these countries, some analysts believe that the recovery for Peru and Colombia will be much quicker, and therefore will be much better placed to do business in the short, medium, and long term. And in a region where long-term personal and professional relationships are highly valued, this places us as potential business partners within the UK in an excellent position to expand and to grow our operations in these vibrant countries. And this is underscored by the fact that Peru and Colombia, alongside Ecuador, are part of the Andean trade agreement that has been signed with the UK. So as part of DIT's support to encourage UK exporters expand their operations, we recognise that we need to do this in partnership. And DIT works very closely with the Chambers of Commerce to go beyond our own networks to support UK businesses. The Chambers of Commerce are a specialist network that, as part of their many and diverse activities, are able to make introductions, conduct in-depth market research, and connect like-minded companies operating in that market or those that wish to enter. And I'm delighted to be welcoming you to this session today. And I hope that you will be able to learn from today and take away and have that and get the appetite for what can be the exciting possibilities in these dynamic markets. So back to Michael.
Cristina, excellent. Thank you so much. It's always a treat to have somebody from DIT on our panels and on our webinars, because it just shows how important countries like Colombia and Peru are for the UK government. I wanted to let you all know that we will be accepting questions at the end for any of our speakers, be that Cristina, Control Risks, or Peru or Colombia. If you'd be so kind as to leave your comments, questions, messages in the chat or in the Q&A section, we will try and get to as many as possible at the end of our discussion. As I mentioned, we're joined by our risk and analysis experts from Control Risks. It's a pleasure to have you here today, Raúl and Nicolás. Without further ado, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Michael, for having us. You know, I wanted just to take briefly a few minutes to give some of the audience the sense of who we are. I mean, we are a British company, and we have been around for 45 years. And during that time, actually, all of that time, we have been present in the Andean region based out of Bogota. Our founders actually began the company by working in Colombia back in the day. And now we are, in 36 offices around the world, mostly helping Fortune 500 companies and as well as domestic companies handle three major risks. The first one is political risk. And that involves advising companies on how to engage with multiple stakeholders and mitigate the adversity that can come from dealing with governments, local governments, activists, a number of different actors that can either hinder or help your operations on the ground. Then there's integrity risk, which is helping companies engage with or investigate fraud internally, do due diligence on potential suppliers and clients and partners, and as well as help them with their compliance work. On the security front, which is the third risk that we manage, we help companies assess essentially, the threats to their personnel and their assets and help them manage crisis situations. I would add that before handing it over to my colleague, Nicolás Urrutia, that, in Peru, we've been very active in the last few years, engaging in projects like helping companies with market entry, say, in the agriculture space, for instance, we've helped a grape growing company operate in the country and assess not only the land where they were going to operate, but also the context and how communities and others would view them. We've helped companies in the infrastructure space and in the mining space as well, better engage with various stakeholders, be it communities, unions, etc. And finally, we've helped them assess threats to their assets and their personnel by helping them lay out scenarios and even mapping out stakeholders for them. So it's been a few very active years lately, especially given the integrity situation we viewed in Peru. And with that, I'll hand it over to Nicolás Urrutia, who, as you pointed out, heads our Colombia and Peru analysis. Just a little bit of background: before joining us, Nicolás was the Inspector General for the intelligence agency here in Colombia, essentially reporting directly to former President Santos. So, I'm leaving you in very good hands. With that, I hand it over to Nicolás. Thanks.
Thank you, Raúl, and good morning, everyone. After that introduction, I feel that I should have been wearing a tie for the presentation, but for the time being, I think we'll try to keep it casual. If the organizers would be so kind as to perhaps project the slides so that...
Here we go. I think Carolina's just about to start.
Sure.
Thank you, Carolina.
And I think, Carolina, we can go straight to slide number 3, if you could, so we can dive right in. Exactly, we can pass. There we go. Oh, sorry, one slide earlier. There we go. Thank you. Trying to stick to and respect the allotted time to allow for questions and so on. We'll basically focus on first the overall, the 30,000 feet view of the political institutional risk environment in Colombia and Peru, and then we'll address more operational and security risk issues. And I would point out from these bullets over here, which all of you can read, fundamentally a couple of key points for each country. Number one is that, and this is something that is common to Colombia and Peru, both countries have for a number of years, and certainly under the current administrations, made significant efforts to not only remain business friendly, but to become even more business friendly, and to attract foreign investment by engaging in a series of institutional reforms, streamlining licensing processes, and bringing more resources to bear for the agencies and the parts of the government that liaise with foreign investors and have the fundamental task and mission of making foreign investors country entry processes and market entry processes as agile as possible. Now, that said, political conditions in both countries vary. In Colombia, we are just over halfway through the 4-year term of President Iván Duque, who is the most unpopular president the country has had in arguably 20 years, which has put him in a difficult position in terms of implementing major reforms and getting significant legislation passed or approved in Congress, which is considerably different to the situation in Peru, where Martín Vizcarra is arguably the most popular head of state in Latin America. And having said that, President Vizcarra's relationship with the legislative has also been rocky to the point where he actually dissolved Congress in September of last year. There was a very brief constitutional crisis, although perhaps that term is slightly exaggerated. A new Congress was elected early this year and will serve its term until general elections are called in mid-2021. And that relationship has not been easy either. But President Vizcarra does enjoy widespread public support, which gives him a bit of a different governance environment as compared to President Duque. Now, beyond that, conditions do vary, I would say, a bit more significantly between the countries. In Colombia, the geographical and political relations with Venezuela are complicated, not only because of considerable immigration, but because the relations between the governments in both countries have become openly antagonistic. Peru has also sided with a couple of Latin American countries in the US against the regime of President Maduro in Venezuela, but because of geographical distances, the fallout from that has not been as evident. And both countries have been hard hit by COVID and have been forced to engage in high public spending to counter the social and economic impact of the pandemic, but they are on slightly different timelines in regard to the response. Peru acted very fast, Colombia shortly thereafter, but Peru seemed to be hit by the health impacts of the pandemic a bit earlier than Colombia, not only in terms of contagion, but in terms of death rates and sort of the social impact of that as well. Colombia is about a month and a half, perhaps, behind Peru, but both countries will be struggling with recovery for the better part of 2020, and I would venture to say the better part of 2021, and that is going to mark the political priorities and political agendas over the next 12 months. And if we could move on to the next slide. Thank you. This is, of course, having not only operational impact on both countries and creating disruption, although at slightly different scales, and this varies from industry to industry. But it also is having already different impacts in terms of the security environment, and it is also going to have different impacts in the medium term in security environment. Neither country is a stranger to social unrest, but the underlying dynamics of social unrest in Colombia and Peru have been different over the last couple of years. In Peru, we have seen social unrest that is far more localized and specific to local grievances regarding particularly large-scale projects in the extractive industry and to some degree in the infrastructure industry. In Colombia, we have seen, Colombia was part of a wave of social unrest that hit the Andean region in late 2019, where we saw broader national scale mobilization, protesting against government policies and against a wide array of government priorities or reform initiatives. And although those drivers of social unrest have varied in the past, what we are likely to see is a certain confluence of those, because the social and again, economic impact of COVID is going to add a layer of complexity, a layer of urgency to social mobilization. So both countries are likely to see that type of increased unrest during the remainder of 2020 and probably during at least the first semester of 2021. But structural, let us say, more national security issues across both countries will defer, will continue to defer. Whereas in Peru, insurgent and terrorist activity, particularly from the Shining Path, is really highly localized and I would say even marginal. In Colombia, large armed groups, the National Liberation Army guerrilla, dissidents from the former revolutionary armed forces of Colombia that did not demobilize, as well as other large armed groups, particularly drug cartels, are going to continue posing persistent security risks that are going to require companies to engage or to implement mitigation, different types of mitigation activities to make sure that they maintain their personnel and their assets safe, particularly if they operate in more remote areas of the country. I would probably leave it at that so that we don't go over our time by too long.
Thank you very much, Nicolás. Absolutely fascinating. As I'm sure we all know, and you guys know better than others, that Latin America is such a diverse region, and what the work that not only BritCham in Colombia and Peru, but also Control Risk do is to help you acclimatize and help you understand the region a little bit better. So the Control Risks office in Colombia is expert at the Andean region, and if you do need any help with investing in entering to Latin America, then I can assure you that Control Risks are your first important point of call. So thank you very much, Nicolás and Raúl. I would like to remind everybody that we are taking questions in the Q&A part of the platform. So do let us know if you have any questions for our Control Risks experts or any of our other speakers today. Nicolás and Raúl, thank you very much. Right, so now we've heard a bit about the backgrounds. I would love to hear more about the British-Peruvian Chamber of Commerce and the work that you guys are doing in Lima, particularly talking about the what Cristina mentioned, the government-to-government projects that are coming up, and you can tell us all about the new. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's the renovation of the north of Peru. Is that right, Nancy?
Yep. Sorry.
You're going to tell us a little bit about the chamber and how you can help and the exciting projects that are happening in Peru at the moment.
Yes, of course.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you, Michael, for the opportunity of being part of this event. Good afternoon, dear friends. I would like to begin with our country overview. Next, please. Next, please. Peru is a diverse country. It is one of a few countries in the world that has 3 natural regions, many climates, and great variety of natural resources. A wonderful destination. Since 30 years, Peru political situation. Next, please. Since 30 years, Peru political situation has been stable. It is a democratic system with elected presidents and Congress. Next election will be by April 2021. There are major efforts to control corruption in the agenda. Next, please. Addressing the Peruvian economic situation, on 2019, we registered a surplus of 6,700 $614 million, and we expect to experience a decrease of 16% due to the pandemic. Peru is the third country in South America with the highest monetary reserves. Next, please. Next, please. It is a developing country. During the last 20 years, we experienced a constant growth. No. No, please. Can you? Okay. Next one, please. Next one. Okay. It is a developing country. During the last 20 years, we experienced a constant growth. As mentioned before, owing to COVID-19, we will experience a drop during the second quarter of this year. Peruvian economy has shown a low inflation rate during the last decade. The next one, please. As we can see on the graphic, Peru has been able to maintain its credit rating and prospect score. Exchange rate. The average exchange rate is 4.41 soles per pound sterling. In 2019, the maximum value was 4.58 soles per pound and the minimum 4 soles per pound. The next one, please. Okay, now I would like to introduce Luis Miguel Aguirre, as he's the person in charge of international trade in the chamber. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Good afternoon and morning to everyone. Regarding the market, Peru has a population of 32 million, which 77% is urban. It has a growing middle class. Poverty has been reduced 50% over the last 15 years. 70% of the working age population is economically active. The most significant activity of the employed population is in other services, followed by the primary sector, agricultural, fishing, mining. The unemployment rate is in average 5%. Investors receive non-discriminatory treatment. Investor has the possibility to remit profit, and law guarantees trade and industry freedom. In average, tax rate contribution is 37%. Peru informality rate is 64% in average.
I would like to contribute. Hello, everybody. This is a significant point because Peru has the highest informality rate in Latin America. And for this reason, the tax contribution is very low. This will be reflected in other areas of our presentation. Thank you.
The trade balance between Peru and United Kingdom, due to the pandemic, a drop has been experienced in the first quarter of 2020.
In that respect, agriculture exports have grown during the last 10 years significantly. And this especially to UK, because of the growing interest there is on gastronomy around the world. There is a major increase also in the country of learning English. British export of educational books, courses has been in greater demand. There has been an increase, of course, of medicines during the pandemic.
Principal sectors. Next, please. Regarding principal sectors, we have agribusiness. Agribusiness, Peru is the world's main producer of asparagus, quinoa, natural coloring liquors, and many superfoods. There is a vast food portfolio with production during the whole year.
This is a market that is growing permanently because there is a world demand for sophisticated agricultural products. Peru is very attractive because we have within the country many different climates at many different altitudes. This is something extremely particular, and it's very positive for boutique agriculture.
For many, Peru is known as a mining country. Our principal minerals are silver, copper, zinc, and gold. The mining exploration portfolio includes 63 projects. These are greenfields and brownfields projects. Mine development portfolio includes 48 projects. UK is one of the top investors with Quellaveco project of a total of $5.3 billion.
This is a permanently growing sector in exploration, exploitation, and mining expansions, which adds to $58 billion. And some say it is much more still.
Next, please. Construction. In May 2020, the production of the construction sectors registered a drop owing to COVID-19.
There is a high infrastructure deficit in Peru. This was mentioned when we started the presentation. The last Niño phenomenon destroyed a very important part of the existing infrastructure in the north of Peru. There is approximately $2 billion on an ongoing reconstruction program that has selected on a G2G basis UK as the delivery partner. The program includes the reconstruction of 74 schools, 15 health centers, and roads, bridges, etc. Tenders will be published for construction companies to supply turnkey projects under the NEC contracts.
Tourism between UK and Peru. UK is the 5th largest source of tourists to Peru. The total arrivals from last year were 71,322. The average stay was 15 nights. The average spending was $2,000 per tourist. 50% purchased a package tour. Tourist interests are culture, nature, and adventure. Next, please. These are our principal seaports and their locations. The principal port in Peru is Callao. Thank you.
Okay. I will proceed with Chamber of Commerce. The British-Peruvian Chamber of Commerce is a non-profit organization. We cooperate with DAT and the UK Embassy. We have 115 members and 31 years in the market. As you can see in the graphic, the activities of our members are very diverse. Our main services are events and awareness, networking, and business settings. We have produced from January to July 2020, 29 events 4 of them were presential. The Chamber organizes an average of 40 events per year, and this has remained constant for the last 10 years. We have produced 80 issues of our own magazine, Opportunities. We attach the link below. We are present in Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. The next, please. Yeah. Okay, regarding business settings, the Chamber provides market researches, key contact lists, arrangement of virtual meetings, and publish business opportunities in our media. Okay, next one, please. Here you have our contact details. Feel free to reach out to us if any questions. Many thanks.
Nancy, Luis Miguel, and of course Enrique, thank you all so much for that presentation. It's always exciting to hear about other countries in Latin America and the wonderful advances and opportunities that there are for British companies. It's obviously very exciting to hear about the reconstruction program and the fact that the UK has been chosen as a delivery partner. And Cristina will be the first to tell us that will open up so many opportunities. And as Enrique said, $2 billion worth of opportunities, and we hope that the UK will participate in as many of those tenders as possible. Last but not least, I would like to talk to you all about Colombia. I'd like to take a little time to change the perspective, hopefully tell you some interesting things about the country that I've been living in for the last 8 years, and try and entice you and your businesses to come to the country. First of all, I'd like to thank again Control Risks, the BritCham in Peru, and of course Cristina for joining us today. My name is Michael Phillips, and I've been working at the Chamber for the last 4 years, and I was appointed director 4 months ago. We are the British Chamber of Commerce in Colombia, called BritCham, and we work from within the British Embassy in Bogota. Our mission is to promote trade relations between the UK and Colombia. And thanks to our network, which is ever growing, which includes DIT, the British government, local Colombian trade associations, and private and public sector entities, we are well placed to support you and your company's export journey to Colombia. We are, like most chambers of commerce, we are a members-based organization. And we have over 100 members from, 90 members from all sectors, which include UK companies with a presence in Colombia, as well as Colombian companies that have or would like to have a commercial relationship with the UK. Next slide, please. Don't worry, I'll get it. I'd like to give you some interesting facts about Colombia. As I said, Colombia has changed a lot in the last 20, 30 years. Tourism and foreign investment are up, and the country is starting to reach, finally, its great potential. Here you'll find some interesting facts about Colombia that you may or may not know that should hopefully help you change the perception that you have of this amazing place. For example, did you know that Colombia has the highest amount of species by area in the world? And it has more species of bird than all of Europe and North America combined. Colombia has a strategic location and has 5 international borders. This has led Colombia to have some excellent free trade agreements. It is worth noting that foreign companies that make use of the numerous free trade zones dotted around the country can take advantage of the free trade agreements that Colombia is a part of. Medellin, a city previously infamous, should I say, for other things, was recently nominated as one of the most innovative cities in the world. The reason that this happened was for local projects such as the creative ideas for urban living and the orchidorama for growing orchids, which is unique in Medellin. Over 30% of Colombia is Amazon rainforest, which again lends itself to incredible diversity and opportunities. Colombia has the second most national holidays in the world. You may have heard that doing business in Colombia can be tricky. These national holidays, while wonderful for those of us that work here, can be a stumbling block when arranging a trade mission or expecting a response to an email or a call. Thankfully, BritCham is here to help, and our local knowledge can help guide you through the many pitfalls that foreign companies discover in Latin America. Colombia has a population of over 50 million people. Similar to Peru, there is a growing middle class that is traveling more, has more disposable income, open to new tastes, products and opportunities. And the UK continues to be one of those destinations for Colombian travelers and students. So the relationship between Colombia and the UK is growing more and more. Foreign and fixed investments increasing, as is the economy in general. Colombia, like most of the world, is expecting a recession due to COVID-19. However, experts have said that the recession in Colombia should be lower than the rest of the region. As I mentioned, Colombia's got a very strategic location. It's located at the northern tip of South America, just south of Panama. Being the only country in South America with the Caribbean and Pacific coast allows for trade with North America, Europe, Africa, Asia, and Colombia has very good maritime routes to take advantage of. From a business point of view, Colombia is starting to compete with the bigger economies in the region, including Chile, Mexico, and Brazil. British exporters often look at the population of Brazil and think that's a perfect starting point on the continent. However, we believe, and as Cristina mentioned, doing business in Colombia has been ranked as easier than Brazil by the World Bank, and has trade agreements in place with over 60 countries around the world. Some of these agreements include the US, Canada, the EU, and South Korea. And of course, the agreement that the UK has with the Andean nations, which is Colombia, Peru, and Ecuador. Colombia recently became a member of the OECD, meaning that standards must meet requirements, and Colombia continues to become a more attractive prospect for investors and exporters. Colombia was recognized as the first country in the region that protects investors, obtaining the 6th position worldwide according to the World Bank. And that is shown through disposable incomes, which are rising, with the portions of household expecting to be earning above the $10,000 mark per year, almost reaching 29% by the end of 2020. I'd like to talk a little bit about BritCham and the services that we offer. BritCham, like many British chambers of commerce across the world, offers various services to help encourage trade between the two countries. We work with companies from all sectors and sizes to be able to offer complete solutions to doing business in Colombia, whether that be exporting or setting up an office. Our network of support allows us to remain at the forefront of all opportunities in Colombia and the UK, as well as have privileged access to government officials, decision makers, and some of the biggest companies in the country. We receive fantastic institutional support from the British Embassy in Colombia and the Ambassador, and also the Colombian Embassy in London. We work very closely with DIT, and we work with them to support international trade by working with international trade advisors, British exporters, local chambers of commerce in the UK, to help British products and British businesses thrive in Colombia. We also work with Colombian entities such as the Bogota Chamber of Commerce and Pro-Colombia, the national tourism and investment entity, who actually have an office in London. It's worth looking them up, but they do a fantastic job. And as I mentioned, the relationship between the UK and Colombia is increasing and getting better. So Pro-Colombia office in London could be a very important first point of call for you. So on this next slide, apologies, having some technical difficulties. Even after doing 40 webinars in the last 3 or 4 months, we still managed to have difficulties with Zoom. Apologies. So I'm trying to get to the services slide. There we go. So on this slide, you'll find some of the services that we offer to UK exporters. We have vast experience in producing in-depth market reports for all sectors, which can include major competitors, regulatory requirements, pricing, among other things. We also offer bespoke reports where you can pick and choose what information to include in your sector, such as local importers, distributors, local partners, and of course, we conduct trade missions to country. We are actually looking at doing a couple of trade missions before the year is out. As I mentioned, we're all battling with technical difficulties at the moment, but we are looking to host a couple of virtual meet the buyers over the next few months, which will hopefully be of interest to UK exporters interested in Colombia. In the past, we've supported UK exporters with representation at trade fairs, personalised business development support, logistics for product launches, networking occasions, etc. Through our network of BritCham members, we offer bilingual soft landing services to companies of any size who are looking to set up an office or a business in Colombia. So the next slide is just a glimpse of what kind of British companies are present in Colombia. As you can see, the UK participation covers all sectors. The UK's strengths in Colombia lie in financial and professional services, as you can see from the fact that the big four, EY, Deloitte, KPMG and PwC, all have large offices here. Oil and gas and related services, infrastructure, education, retail, including pharma, consumer goods. The companies Diageo, CPL Aromas and GSK, for example, take advantage of the excellent free trade zones in Colombia and use the country as a hub for their Latin American operations. On a positive note, we are seeing more and more UK tech and software companies making headway in Colombia. Actec, Somo, Park and Endeavour are examples of that. And we continue to promote the UK expertise and the UK reputation here in Colombia to attract more and more investment to the country. This slide shows some of the well-known international brands that have a big presence in Colombia. The UK's participation in certain market segments is lower than it could be. Particularly thinking about things like food and drink, retail, medical devices, tech and software. We hope and we expect the UK to be competing more than it is, as it does in countries such as Chile, Mexico, and North America. But this is just to give you a glimpse of the international competitors that are present here. You can see from the European point of view, including the French and Spanish, they're really attacking the Colombian market. In recent years, brands such as Decathlon, Zara have arrived, offering European products to Colombians. They've had incredible success. Other international brands such as WeWork, the Chilean department store Falabella, Nestle, Carrefour, Amazon are making great strides in Colombia. So there is no reason why the UK cannot have more of a market share. Some of the biggest Colombian companies include the partly state-owned oil company Ecopetrol, the soft drinks manufacturer Postobon, the largest retailer, now French-owned Grupo Éxito, banking groups such as Grupo Aval and Bancolombia, and the Colombian unicorn, the only Latin American unicorn, I think I'm right in saying, and delivery app Rappi. The Department for International Trade has an excellent team in Colombia, and they work tirelessly with other departments in the British Embassy and with BritCham to make UK companies aware of opportunities and to support them when entering Colombia. Unfortunately, DIT only has a certain amount of reach. DIT in Colombia focuses on what are considered high-value sectors for UK companies in country, which are mentioned here. So you can see life sciences, which includes pharma, infrastructure, energy, defence, financial services, and the UK also has two excellent teams within the British Embassy, which are the Prosperity Fund and Economic Diplomacy. But that is not to say that working in other sectors or exporting in other sectors is impossible. That's where we come in. We have experience, as I mentioned, working in all sectors. And we've worked with UK exporters from across all sectors. And some of our success stories in the past fall into some of the sectors that are listed on this slide here. We have had extreme success, actually, with medical devices, alcohol. We're looking to see an increase in e-commerce. But as I mentioned previously, food and drink, retail, agriculture. And we do also work with companies in other sectors, such as education, infrastructure, energy, to coincide with the great work that DIT do. So as I previously mentioned, we have over 100 members, each with their own expertise. Whether you're looking for a lawyer in Colombia, translations, accounting services, support with the visa, logistics, free trade zones, retailers, importers, distributors, whatever it may be, BritCham and our network of partners can lend a helping hand in what can sometimes be a difficult country to manage. We can support you with a trip to the market, arranging virtual meetings, virtual exhibitions, virtual meet the buyers, and our local contacts and local knowledge can make sure that you and your product are put in front of the right people with the companies that you want to work with. As I mentioned, we produce complete and tailored market reports for you and your company, as well as providing you with leads, potential distributors and their information, as well as exclusive market opportunities. And of course, I don't need to say that BritCham will support you the entire export journey in Colombia, be that from your first decision to export to Colombia, right up until you actually start making the sale and beyond. We support all British companies in Colombia, whether members or not, and once your product is in Colombia, there is a whole host of other services that we can provide you with. We are excited about the future in Colombia. The economy continues to grow year on year, and coupled with the growing middle class, there is an appetite for British products in the market. Disposable income has doubled since the year 2000, and various government various government initiatives have had an impact, such as reduced corporate taxation, the historic peace agreement that was signed a few years ago, better financing conditions, and new infrastructure projects continue to boost investment from all over the world to Colombia. As I mentioned, since Colombia's travel more, coupled with that growing middle class, Colombia's local production now has to compare itself with the international offer. This gives a nice little opportunity for British products, whether that be food and drink, retail, homeware, accessories, medical devices, to take advantage of this country. From a UK point of view, we see Brexit as an opportunity. We expect the UK and UK exporters to be looking at Colombia as a real destination come 2021, and Brexit, coupled with the historic double taxation agreement that was signed between Colombia and the UK, which entered into effect on the 1st of January of this year, reflects not only the interest, but also the intention of both the UK and Colombian governments to encourage trade and investment, and build on the years and years, in fact centuries of good relations that the two countries have had. From a BritCham point of view, we expect opportunities in food and drink, retail, healthcare, infrastructure, professional financial services, including consultancy, and of course tech, software, and the like. That's pretty much it from me. I would just like to close to say that Colombia is open for business. Colombia is excited to work with British products, and we are positioned here to support you with anything that you may need. Thank you very much all for listening to this conversation, and as I mentioned in the past, there will be an opportunity for questions should you have any. Thank you. I'm just going to check if we have any questions in the chat. So I don't think we have any questions at the moment, but please do leave your questions and comments should you have any. If Cristina is still connected, are you still there, Cristina?
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi. I just wanted to. We've got a couple of minutes, and before I get to the question that Adriana Santos has just mentioned, I just wanted to take your thoughts on the free trade agreement that hopefully will come into effect between between the UK and then the Andean countries of Colombia, Peru, and Ecuador. I don't want to put you on the spot, but we're all very excited, and you know, from a BritCham Colombia's point of view, we think that this shows a real intent, not only from Colombia, Peru, and Ecuador, but from the UK government, that as we go further over the years and through Brexit, that the UK is seriously looking at Latin America and the Caribbean as a strong trading partner.
Absolutely. We, obviously kind of preaching to the choir, the business specialist for Latin America and the Caribbean, but certainly the reason why my role exists and is quite a new role is because we see that this is becoming of growing importance, and UK companies wanted to know more and wanted to export more and explore the possibilities. And these free trade agreements are the real mechanisms to enable that. And certainly with the free trade agreements, what we're particularly keen on within DIT is ensuring that they work for smaller businesses, because big businesses, have the government relations team that can make it work. They know how to navigate these things, but it's the small to medium-sized enterprises that we need to really make this work for. So getting these right is really important. I think 60% of the UK economy is made up of SMEs, so it's important that these free trade agreements work for everyone, not just the large corporations based in London, but for everyone based across the UK for whatever size they are. And the reason why the Andean one is particularly exciting is that we can see that the growth, and we are all going through difficult times, and knowing where it's going to come out of those times quicker, where we can look for new partnerships growing our own business and building and contributing towards other societies is incredibly important. So yes, it is a very exciting time. Absolutely.
Excellent. It's really great to hear from you that the UK government is so positive. Raúl, if you're still here, I do have a question for you. You still here? You still with us?
Yes. Yes.
Great. I have a quick question. So we always say that Colombia is ranked 3rd in Latin America for the ease of doing business. From a control risks point of view, do you think that it is easy from a British point of view to do business in Colombia and in the region? Or do you think that there are certain mistakes that British companies make when entering the Colombian market?
Yes, well, thank you for that. No, I think that compared to a number of other countries, obviously Latin America is a complex place. I mean, there's a lot of bureaucracy in many cases, and taking that into consideration, I think the ease of doing business survey is quite useful in giving us a sense of the challenges and some of the opportunities that one faces when doing business here. But yes, I mean, Colombia is a place where opening up a company is relatively easier as far as the number of days it takes, the number of regulation and steps one has to take to make that a reality. I would say it is a country where regulation tends to be less onerous than in other countries for a number of sectors. What I think is a challenge that companies coming in face, and that's a challenge I would say across Latin America, and that one has to take into consideration and do your homework, if you will, is assessing the challenges one can expect from engaging with, say, governments, engaging with trade unions, engaging with a number of different actors that, depending on the sector, can pose difficulties along the way. Let's say, I think in Colombia, certainly in the extractive sector, for instance, there's a very active anti-extractive movement here, and the same applies to a number of other countries where we've seen various social actors take a very tough line against some of these companies. So that's certainly an important component. If you're in the financial sector, certainly there's a lot of restrictions and challenges. If you're operating in a country, say like Panama, certainly where money laundering is a big concern, and certainly in Colombia, obviously that tends to be the case. So there's a lot of restrictions and difficulties when navigating the financial system. But I would say, the big message here is that, like any responsible business leader and business organization, one has to do the appropriate homework in thinking about the potential adverse scenarios one can encounter in dealing with this sort of myriad of actors, and what can one do to make sure that one mitigates adverse outcomes, so that you are better positioned, if you will, to deal with them. I think that in broad strokes is what I would say is the biggest challenge, because obviously we want to think positively about these markets, and they certainly offer immense opportunities for businesses coming from say Western countries, but one has to be aware that there's additional homework one has to do.
Excellent, thank you. That was a really complete answer. And always interesting to hear about how Colombia and Peru compete with other countries in the region. We have a question from Adriana Santos. Adriana asks, do we have more details about the Meet the Buyer event? Adriana, I can tell you that BritCham Colombia is planning a Meet the Buyer event with British exporters. We are planning it for the end of September or the beginning of October, and it will be focused on the food and drink and retail sectors. At the moment, we can't give you any more details, but that will be the first virtual Meet the Buyer that we conduct. And then in the future, we will be looking at doing Meet the Buyers with other sectors, other important sectors. There is a question from Juan Manuel Carrasquilla. Hi, Juan Manuel. The question from Juan Manuel is, how can we as entrepreneurs articulate these opportunities among Peru and Colombia with BritCham support? I will answer for Colombia. So the answer really is that we with help from the British government, with help from the British Embassy, we support entrepreneurs. We help support British companies and Colombian companies be aware of opportunities, whether that be public tenders, whether that be UK companies that are looking for Colombian products, or the other way around. So we, through our communications, through the excellent work the British Embassy in Colombia does, and a certain commercial bulletin that the British Embassy sends out every month, there are a whole host of opportunities, not only for big multinationals, but for people, for importers, for exporters, whatever it may be. So there are a number of ways in which, from a Colombia point of view, we articulate those opportunities to our stakeholders. There is a question for Peru, and Ariel Ricardo Noriega asks, I don't know if Nancy, Enrique, or Luis Miguel want to answer this, but which are the mechanisms under which the UK supports development opportunities in Peru of products or services? So how does the UK government support opportunities in Peru?
Your microphone is off.
Thank you for the question. We practically have divided our tasks between DIT and the chamber in that respect. The major investments, the major projects are handled obviously by DIT, and we handle the mid-size and small interests for Peru. Similar as Michael has explained, we try to give a total support from starting from the basics, scaling up to legal, financial, and of course something which is extremely interesting in Peru. A very big portion of the mid-size and small business is always handled by local representatives. Peru has a particular geography, and the only capital, larger city is Lima. So that means if one has to handle business outside Lima, the request of a representative is fundamental. So that is part of our task.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Enrique. And I think we have time for one more question, and this is a general one. I dare to ask Cristina to answer this one. Cristina, how is the situation of solar and wind energy in these countries? The reason I ask Cristina is because I know that in Colombia, energy and renewables is a priority sector for DIT. I was wondering, Cristina, if you had any thoughts on the solar and wind energy in Colombia and Peru.
Yes, certainly. I know that in Colombia it is something that is of a real priority, but also looking at the mechanisms to store that energy as well, because there's Colombia can produce that, but how it stores and transfer that is kind of where we're hoping to step in with the expertise of UK companies. In Peru, I certainly think that this is a developing area. There's more that we're thinking about, and especially because when we think about the Reconstrucción con Cambios, which is the program that's allied with the government initiatives that we've been speaking about earlier, that is because of an environmental phenomenon, El Niño. So when we're thinking about building back, it's doing that in a sustainable and a green and environmentally friendly way, and certainly the power generation and how that's stored with the renewables aspect will be key. And don't forget that in Peru you have large deserts, so capacity for the solar as well. Although I certainly think that from a DIT perspective that Colombia is probably leading in this area.
That's great to hear. And Bruno Bueno, who is a participant in this webinar, has said that Peru was one of the first countries to launch renewable energy auctions, and Peru has some of the best solar and wind resources in the world. Raúl,
sorry, yeah.
I was going to come to you. I was going to come to you, and I was going to see what the control risk point of view on this is.
Yeah, if I could jump in here, I think, you know, having done a lot of work in the energy space and control risk, I think, you know, in our view, when it comes to renewables, there's fantastic opportunity here in the Andean region, primarily because, you know, not only do you have welcoming governments that can be flexible when it comes to regulation and speedy when it comes to particularly renewables, since it's such an important sector to them, but also because from the perspective of communities and the public more generally, there is acceptance and actually a desire to see more of that, you know, that industry essentially flourish in these countries, as opposed to the extractive sector. Not being oil and gas, not being mining is extremely important when it comes to threats to operations, and certainly in Colombia, you know, we've seen, you know, very welcoming communities when it comes to solar and wind. Yes, you know, you still have challenges because, you know, you have to operate in remote parts of the country, and that applies also to Colombia and Peru and other places. And you have obviously integrity risks. You have, you know, actors who might want to essentially, you know, threaten operations or you know, demand payments, or, you know, that type of activity, depending on the area that we're talking about, not across the board. But these are things, and then of course, one has to think about doing proper due diligence on partners on the land itself where the operations will take place, to make sure that there's been a clean and constant chain of ownership throughout time. In Colombia, obviously, you've had people that have been pushed out of their land during the conflict, and so you have to make sure that, you know, the land itself is not, you know, affected by the conflict historically. So, you know, these are some of the issues and challenges one has to think about. But in our view, when it comes to renewables, you know, risk per se, from a security standpoint and operational and I'm sorry, a regulatory and political standpoint, is very manageable in our view.
Well, that's great to hear, and I think to sort of sum up everything that's been said today, that Colombia and Peru are countries of great opportunities. I think having the control risk point of view is fascinating, particularly when talking about a sector such as energy. That, you know, Colombia as a country is incredibly diverse, and just because something happens one way in one city or one town doesn't mean that that's the way that it's going to happen in the whole of the country. So BritCham Colombia, the British-Peruvian Chamber of Commerce, Control Risks and DIT are all here to help with your export investment journey to Latin America. We have given you all of our contact details, so please do get in touch if there's anything that we can help with now or in the future. But I think that we have come to an end, and I would like to extend an enormous amount of gratitude, firstly to Cristina Irving from DIT.
Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure to join you today.
Thank you. Secondly, to the team from the British-Peruvian Chamber of Commerce, Enrique Anderson, OBE, Nancy Velarde, and Luis Miguel Aguirre.
Thank you very much. This has been a very, very exciting morning.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Michael.
And
Nancy, I think your mic is mute.
Sorry. Thank you very much, Michael, for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. And of course, to our experts from Control Risk, Nicolás Urrutia, who has left, and Raúl Gallegos, thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.